Today, we're going to get into a story that is just, well, it's truly incredible. It's a journey from being kicked out of college and being homeless, all the way to one of the highest achievements you can get in education. This is the story of Dr. Rony A Rodas, and trust me, it's a masterclass in what it means to be resilient. And this one quote from his book, it just perfectly sets the stage. It tells you right from the jump that the biggest battles he fought weren't in some war zone overseas. Nope, they were inside his own head. This is all about an internal fight, a fight against doubt, against failure, and against the hand he was dealt. So, where does a battle like this even begin? Well, it starts in far Rockaway, Queens, in a world filled with chaos and struggle, the kind of world that honestly would have broken most people before they even had a chance to get started. Now, just look at this timeline for a second. The thing that's so striking is how fast it all happened. It's just bam, bam, bam. In just a handful of years, he goes from being a young immigrant to a high school dropout, then his house burns down and he's homeless, and his family ends up on welfare. This isn't just one setback, it's a whole avalanche of them. But in the middle of all that chaos, he had his father's words. His dad would see kids just hanging out on the street corners, doing nothing, and he'd tell him, "Don't be one of the bunch." You know, that simple phrase became this guiding light for his whole life, a constant reminder to pull himself away from just settling. So with his dad's voice in his head, he tried to build a way out for himself through education, through service, but he immediately ran smack into a wall. And I mean a massive, massive wall. He manages to enroll in community college, but the whole system just feels like it's set up for him to fail. He's working multiple security jobs, he's totally exhausted, he's way behind in basic English and math, and there's no one in his family who's ever been to college to show him the ropes. He was fighting a war on every single front imaginable. And then, this happens, the official verdict. A letter shows up that basically says, yeah, you're not cut out for higher education. For so many people, that would be it, the end of the story. Game over. So he pivots. Okay, college isn't the path. So he tries to join the military, another way out. But he hits another wall, the ASVAB, which is the military's entrance exam. His old enemies, math and English, show up again, and he fails. So he studies, he tries for a different branch, and he fails it again. And again, it's just this relentless, soul-crushing cycle of defeat. Can you even imagine the frustration? Every single door he tries to open just slams shut right in his face. But here's the thing, he just kept knocking. And finally, after months and months of just refusing to give up, he passes. This moment, right here, is the turning point. He enlists in the U.S. Army, and in doing so, he trades a life of complete chaos for one of absolute, unwavering order. I mean, this slide says it all. Just look at the contrast between these two columns. His entire world gets flipped upside down. What was once chaos is now structure. What was instability is now discipline. Survival becomes mission. The Army gave him the one thing he'd been missing his entire life, a framework. So how'd they do it? Well, it's a systematic process, really. The Army's method is to first strip away your ego, break you down. Then they instill humility. And only then do they rebuild you, piece by piece, but this time with a foundation of purpose and discipline. And here's the best part, just a beautiful piece of irony. Remember those 32 college credits? From the very school that kicked him out? Well, they became his first advantage in the Army. Those failures literally earned him a higher rank right from the start. So now, with this newfound discipline, he starts to do something amazing. He begins to merge his two separate worlds. He becomes a soldier who is also a scholar, chasing his education while on active duty. And his classroom was literally the entire globe. In South Korea, he learned how to study in total isolation. Up in the freezing cold of Fort Drum, he learned what real commitment felt like. In Kosovo, he learned about detachment. And in Iraq, in the middle of a war, his studies became the one stable thing he could hold on to. And you know what? All that hard work, it paid off. Big time. The same young man who was dismissed from community college earned not one, but 2 college degrees while serving on active duty all over the world. And this quote just nails it, doesn't it? It perfectly sums up his whole journey. It wasn't one thing or the other. It was the powerful combination of these 2 different worlds. The practical, get-it-done discipline of a soldier and the critical thinking of a scholar that created his unique path forward. But you know, the quiet battle wasn't over, not by a long shot. After he left the military, he started his final, and his longest, March, an absolutely grueling 9-year battle to earn his Ph.D. 9 years. Just let that sink in for a moment. That is not a sprint. That is a mental ultramarathon. It takes a level of patience and sheer persistence that, frankly, most of us can't even imagine. And even at this super elite level, guess what? He hit another wall. He failed a critical exam and was forced to just stop and wait an entire year before he could try again. It just proves that resilience isn't something you learn one time. It's a muscle you have to keep on training, even when you think you've already made it. And then, the culmination of everything. After a lifetime of struggle, after being told over and over that he wasn't good enough for college, he finally hears these words: the quiet battle was won. So what do you do with a victory like that? Well, for him, the journey comes full circle. He takes everything he learned from the streets, from the battlefield, and from the classroom, and he dedicates himself to a whole new kind of service. And this, right here, is the ultimate lesson of his life. His story is living proof that success really isn't about some innate talent or being a genius. It's about the grind. It's about that relentless, disciplined, day in and day out effort of just not quitting. And that really leaves us with this one last question. Dr. Rodas fought his quiet battle from the streets of Queens all the way to a Ph.D. So it makes you wonder, what's the quiet battle that you're fighting right now? And what's it going to take for you to win?